Another dry day for many of us, but the far north and west will probably see more in the way of cloud. That's because we've got an approaching weather front. It never really makes it all the way in, but it does just bring more in the way of cloud to parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. But across the south and east, with lighter winds, it will feel a little bit warmer, with temperatures approaching the mid-20s. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too, with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
More and more people are now tuning in to GB News.
They shape our programmes, we try and incorporate them in our shows as much as we can.
Our audience are really interactive.
Our listeners, our viewers, they're growing.
And that's because they tell their friends and family about what we're doing here at GB News.
It feels like the depth of that connection has strengthened as well.
Thank you so much for speaking to us on GB News.
Come and say hello to everybody that's here from GB News.
It's been an exceptional event.
We've come a long way here now.
Thank you, GB News!
What's so unique about GB News viewers is that they really, really love our country.
And they talk about us so proudly. We're on a journey together.
We are here for all of Britain. We believe in this country, we believe in its people, and we believe in all of the communities who live here.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
It's 10 a.m. on Saturday, the 22nd of August, live across the United Kingdom. This is Saturday Morning Live.
Well, what a week for the Sussexes. A right royal return to Blighty and now a £9.5 million legal bill for Prince Harry and his group following his court battle with the Daily Mail.
We are on the ground in the Cotswolds today to find out what residents think about potentially becoming Harry and Meghan's new neighbours and the Duchess's rumoured return to the screen.
And are we looking at another Labour freebie scandal? MPs are accused of failing to learn their lesson as it's revealed that Andy Burnham's top team have accepted everything from free Harry Styles tickets to Chelsea Flower Show passes.
And is the criminal investigation into Peter Mandelson about to fall apart? There are reports that US authorities have failed to hand over key files linked to the Jeffrey Epstein case, and without them, police cannot bring charges.
French resistance. Finally, police in France prevent 185 small boat crossings in 3 months, as shocking new footage shows them being attacked by violent migrants attempting to cross the English Channel.
We'll be speaking to someone who has been on the front line with the French authorities on those beaches in France. Is the action enough for Andy Burnham's government to win back trust with the public?
Fiscal credibility is the bedrock of economic stability and national security.
Meanwhile, there's fresh warnings that the UK borrowed more than expected in July because of increased spending on benefits. A fresh headache for Chancellor John Healey. That's ahead of his first budget come November.
And after a summer of record-breaking temperatures, are we in for more dramatic weather this autumn? Find out what El Niño is and why it's coming for Britain.
The biggest stories, boldest opinions and liveliest debates over the next 2 hours. I'm Sophie Reaper.
And I'm Charlie Peters. Your weekend starts here. Well, Sophie, we are awaiting the return of Harry and Meghan. There are reports that Meghan is searching for a new gig. She might already have one secured. She wants to return to the screen.
And is that why they're coming back? Of course, there's been rife speculation about what is it bringing them back to Blighty. Could it be the chance for Meghan to appear once again on screen?
Well, it's very nice to have you here for Saturday Morning Live.
It's been a while.
Olivia Utley on holiday, but perhaps the Duchess is watching right now, considering her options.
The Duchess, Olivia Utley? Oh.
Well, Meghan Markle's, she's looking for a gig. And maybe she'll be eyeing up the People's Channel, thinking this could be my great break. This could be the one that puts her back on the screen.
I'm not sure what our lovely viewers would have to say about that. Well,
GBNews.com/your say. Do let us know what you think about the Harry and Meghan return, and also that story in The Guardian on freebies for MPs. Are we being too harsh on politicians? Do they deserve these treats here and there? Are they useful? Or is this all just lobbying and them getting a nice day out, potentially, when they should be working harder?
I wouldn't mind some free concert tickets, if anyone's listening.
Also, do get in touch with that if you want to offer Sophie Reaper a few tickets. Right, loads to get stuck into, but let's cross over now to Aaron Armstrong, who has all the latest news headlines.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you. We start with a breaking story coming into us. Multiple people have died after a crash involving a police vehicle near Middlesbrough in the early hours of this morning. Cleveland police say the collision involving a Volkswagen Passat took place on the A66 in South Bank. They are working to identify the victims and contact their families. A 6-year-old girl has died in hospital 3 days after getting into difficulty in the sea off West Sussex. Saja El Kawaz was rescued in critical condition after the incident in Shoreham on Tuesday. Her mother, father and older sister died at the scene of the accident. The incident involving the British-Palestinian family from London took place at Kingston Beach. That's around 6 miles from Brighton. Police say the investigation into the incident remains open, but they believe it was a tragic accident. The inquiry into whether Lord Mandelson passed confidential information to Jeffrey Epstein is at risk of collapse. Police believe US authorities are unlikely to hand over the key unredacted files needed to bring misconduct charges against him. Scotland Yard has requested documents from American authorities, but has yet to receive a response from the FBI or the US Department of Justice. The Met Police is pursuing legal avenues to force their hand, but it's understood that could take years. Labour MPs are being accused of failing to learn their lesson over free gifts after taking almost £400,000 worth of hospitality this year. Head of the Cabinet Office, Louise Haigh, Defence Secretary Wes Streeting and Deputy Leader Lucy Powell are among those who've accepted free tickets for concerts, sports matches and events, including Wimbledon, the Chelsea Flower Show and a Harry Styles concert. The Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, declared hospitality worth around £6,000 this year, mostly relating to his former role as the Mayor of Greater Manchester. The Duchess of Sussex is understood to be in talks about a role in the Netflix series The Gentleman. It will be her first significant acting job since her marriage to Prince Harry. It's led to speculation Meghan's return to acting is one of the main reasons she and her husband are returning to the UK. Prince Harry, meanwhile, and 6 other high-profile figures have been ordered to pay £9.5 million by next Friday to the publisher of the Daily Mail. They are covering Associated Newspapers' legal costs after their privacy suit was dismissed last month. The number of men living with prostate cancer in the UK has surged by 100,000 in the past 6 years. Macmillan Cancer Support says the disease has overtaken breast tumours to become the most common in the UK, with 1 new patient diagnosed every 8 minutes. Its research shows there are now around 600,000 men living with prostate cancer in the UK, compared with around 500,000 in 2020. Experts say increased awareness of the disease and an ageing population could be the factors behind the risk. TikTok's agreed to pay almost £300 million to settle a case with the US government. It's over claims the platform violated children's privacy by collecting vast amounts of data. The deal stems from a 2024 lawsuit by the US Department of Justice under former President Joe Biden. It's one of the largest ever settlements over the issue. A 50% tariff has come into effect for some Canadian goods being imported into the US after the countries failed to reach a deal. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his country will impose reciprocal tariffs on the US goods, dollar for dollar. A 50% levy is now in place on nearly $20 billion worth of Canadian exports to the US. Donald Trump had temporarily paused the tariffs earlier this week, saying the two sides were close to a very good deal. And the Met Office is warning of more unprecedented weather to come this autumn and winter. The strongest El Niño in living memory is expected by forecasters who say significant storms and rainfall will hit the UK in the months ahead. The natural climate phenomenon raises global temperatures and can increase the risk of extreme weather. Those are your headlines. I'll have more for you at 10:30.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Aaron, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and Sophie Reaper.
Now, Prince Harry and 6 other high-profile figures have been ordered to make an initial payment of £9.5 million to the Daily Mail's publisher. That's after losing their High Court privacy case.
Well, the claimants, including Sir Elton John and Liz Hurley, sued Associated Newspapers over allegations of unlawful information gathering, which the firm strenuously denied.
Good news, however, for Meghan, who could appear in the 3rd series of Guy Ritchie's Netflix series hit The Gentleman.
But it's understood that she's in early-stage conversations, and if successful, it would mark her first big acting role since leaving Suits in 2017. Well, we're joined now by the senior royal and entertainment reporter at news.com.au. That's Bronte Coy. Bronte, thanks so much for joining us in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the latest on the return of H&M.
Oh, yes. You've heard about that this week, have you?
This news you revealed yesterday about the new acting gig that she's lined up to do, quite a contrast from previous remarks she's made. What more can you tell us?
Yes, it was just 2022 when she was asked about returning to acting, and she basically said she'd never imagined that happening. And now here we are in 2026, they're moving back to Britain and she's returning to acting. And the big question was, you know, after stepping away from it in 2017, obviously most people know she was most well known for playing Rachel Zane in Suits. You know, after that, she kind of went behind the camera a bit with her Netflix deal. They were producing a series of shows, but now obviously she's got that feeling of wanting to step back into what she knew so well before Harry. So I'm told she's very excited. I mean, initially, my entertainment sources told me there was an offer that had come out. It's part of the overall package of why they're moving back here. So obviously, you know, it's advanced enough that it's at that point. But she's very excited about this role. And as I say, it'll be acting again as opposed to being behind the camera. So it's going to be a side of Meghan we have not seen since before she married Prince Harry. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of role she takes on. And as you mentioned in the opener, it's understood it's The Gentleman, which is via Netflix. That makes sense. Obviously, Meghan has a long partnership now with Netflix. I think they're also friends with Guy Ritchie. They would have come across him in Hollywood. And so, but he has quite risque sorts of shows and films. So again, I'm very interested to see what this role is going to be.
Now, that could be a big driving force for them returning to the United Kingdom, of course. But could it also be something to do with Harry perhaps wanting to rebuild relationships with his father and with his brother?
Absolutely. Look, what my understanding is from speaking to people close to these stories that we're all hearing, Harry is missing elements of the UK. Everything you say is accurate about wanting to be here with his wider family, have his children know the country he grew up in. That's absolutely a huge part of the puzzle. We have the Birmingham Invictus Games 12 months away. He wants to focus on that. Being here will make that even easier. Meghan's role in moving back into acting, another big part of the story. And also they want the kids to be in British education at the moment. So there's a whole lot of factors. I think it's just lined up at a really good time where all of these elements have sort of come into play. But certainly Harry's ongoing relationship with the King and the way that we've seen that strengthen, that's obviously part of the story as well.
Bronte, you say it's come at a really good time. There are, of course, some additional major challenges facing the pair, in particular this ginormous legal bill that he's now going to have to contend with. Quite a curious situation where a prince could have his legal bills being subsidised by his Hollywood acting other half.
I think when it comes to the Sussexes, we are seeing sort of brand new territory when it comes to the royals all the time, even just this week, as you rightly say. Yes, of course, this has come down yesterday. They have a week, I think, to come up with £9.5 million, which is obviously a huge amount of money and more than they had put forward as the interim payment they wanted to pay. There is potentially going to be a lot more. The judge has declined to cap that cost, although he did say that the Mail's publisher, that their costs were excessive, so it's a sign that maybe it won't go to that full £34.5 million they say that they've spent. Either way, obviously he had a huge crushing legal blow just in July. This is clearly going to be a huge financial blow. And how they do make their money ongoing from here that is the question. Obviously, there's this acting career for Meghan. There will be, you'd assume, a lucrative contract in that. I'm told, as ever's going well, possibly her being here means there'll be expansion into the UK. We'll have to wait and see. But you're right, there is going to be a huge bill to pay, no matter which way you slice it.
OK. Well, I have to say, I think it is going to be a very interesting scenario. See how this plays out in the coming days and weeks, because they'll be arriving shortly, settling into the Cotswolds. Bronte Coy, thank you very much for your time this morning. Sophie, what do you make then of the return of Harry and Meghan, particularly to this acting role that's being lined up?
I think in terms of the return, I'm with the 3 in 5 Britons who said they don't really care. I mean, they can be in whatever country they want. I don't think I'll be bumping into them in my local Tesco. Yes, I think the acting is an interesting one. I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the wider context of the royal family. Like Bronte was just saying, obviously this is new territory, completely new territory. We've never seen a member of the royal family on Netflix before. So it'll be an interesting one.
Well, I think we had Archie Manus here, a friend of Prince Harry, on the channel a couple of nights ago, saying that he thinks the move really is motivated by the King's health, and we'll see how that plays out, of course, as well. So do get in touch, gbnews.com/your say for your perspective as well. Right, it's 14 minutes past 10. Let's move on now, because MPs are being warned to learn their lesson over accepting freebies.
Yes, it's been revealed that £400,000 worth of hospitality and concert tickets were accepted by MPs this year, including hospitality tickets to concerts and sports matches. Louise Haigh, Lucy Powell and Wes Streeting are all among those accepting these gifts.
While MPs say they do properly declare such gifts, we're asking this morning, what message does it send to the general public? Well, to start answering that question, let's speak now to the former editor of the Sunday Express, David Wooding. David, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. You would have covered stories like this plenty of times at the Sunday Express. What do you make of the latest findings coming out of The Guardian today?
Well, it's a little bit of a surprise that the figure is so high, nearly 500,000, 400,000, in view of the big row last year when Keir Starmer was revealed to have had free suits, even his spectacles, and trips to football and other big events. And he said, as did his Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, that they weren't going to take any more freebies. But it now seems that those who are in the new regime have been, well, people might say snouts in the trough. There's nothing really wrong about doing this as long as it's declared in the Register of Interests. The problem is that so many MPs have been in trouble for not declaring these gifts and free tickets in the past, that they're all declaring them now. So maybe that's why the figure has gone up.
David, I think when we usually see these scandals, it's to do with MPs or politicians not declaring them. We should say that the ones that have been in The Guardian this morning have all been appropriately declared. But the issue is, of course, for the average Joe on the street, they may see these gifts, and we're seeing things like Lucy Powell accepting tickets to Harry Styles worth £858. You know, our Prime Minister declaring around £6,000 this year alone. For the average Joe on the street, they may be thinking that, you know, it's maybe one rule for them and another for the rest of us.
Absolutely, and it's why this is why they're meant to declare them, because the idea is to see whether they're being influenced. I mean, lobbyists notoriously invite MPs out to lunches, to sporting events, so they've got their ear for a couple of hours and they can push them on the things they want. And it's well known that that's part of the game plan. The thing I find odd about this, Sophie, is that there are great reasons for ministers to go to some of these events. For instance, going to the Ivor Novello Music Awards, if you're in the music brief for government. But some of them have got briefs, like Lisa Nancy is the culture secretary. We don't see her going to the Royal Opera or to an event at the National Gallery or National Theatre. So perhaps they should sort of go to events which are more in line with their brief, and then people wouldn't look at him so suspiciously.
David, let's just go to a different story, an extraordinary story in the Mail today. They say that they have revealed the full scale of illegal family voting in the Birmingham polls from May's local elections. They said that Birmingham City Council have revealed that staff witnessed attempts to breach the secret ballot at 50 different polling stations in those local elections. What more can you tell us about this story and what sort of concerns it's raising?
Well, it is quite astonishing, really, when you read the detail in this story. There are pictures of men holding bundles of ballot papers and handling them out and telling people how to vote effectively. And then there have been lots of confrontations with the polling station staff when they've been asked to desist, men going into polling booths and giving instructions, and all sorts of issues like this. People that when they're told to desist, they then start speaking in different languages so that they don't know what they're saying. So this has all been reported to the police, incidentally, Charlie, and the police have done nothing about it. So really, there should be an inquiry into this because it's far more widespread than we think. If you look back to the Denton and Gorton by-election a few months ago, there were 291 cases reported by not an official body, but by a democracy group which monitored the polling stations. And it is a real cause for concern that this culture from other countries is coming into our voting system. It's very, very disturbing.
David, it's interesting that you bring up Gorton and Denton. I was going to ask you about that because, of course, we did see that at that particular by-election, and it was investigated by Greater Manchester Police, and they said that they found no evidence of this kind of thing happening. But there's never really any smoke without fire. Now we're seeing reports, this one in the Daily Mail today, about it happening in Birmingham during the local elections. It is seemingly becoming much more common, isn't it?
Absolutely. And this is why I think that there's been a bit of a crackdown on showing identity at polling stations, people having to bring their driving licence or their passport to prove who they are. Now, that does away with electoral fraud in the sense of somebody turning out to vote in a different name than who they really are. But what it hasn't done is it's not stopped this system of men, mostly men, telling their wives and their members of their family how they should vote, because it's one person, one vote in this country. It always has been, and we should crack down on it.
There's a quote in the Mail's report, David, from Lord Hayward, who introduced the 2023 law that would make it an offence to attempt to influence voting in polling booths. He says, "I do not believe this is the only council where this was a problem." He's urged the Electoral Commission to investigate. Because we've already seen the police in Gorton and Denton say there's nothing to look at here, we've got also West Midlands Police being referred to in this case as well. How much hope do you have that there will be a thorough and proper investigation into this case? And what do you think might be behind the hesitancy from those saying that one isn't needed?
Well, I mean, it's usually accepted that it suits Labour to have people from different cultures voting. They tend to back Labour. So you can see the reluctance of Labour to get involved in this. But nevertheless, it's in all our interests that this sort of malpractice doesn't happen.
Well, I think that's changing as well, David. I mean, we're seeing more and more people voting for independent candidates, where we're seeing exactly this sort of activity, shall we say, taking place.
Well, you've had the cases of the pro-Palestinian parties putting up independent candidates in some elections, which has led to real aggression at the polls. So yes, it's very important that this is cracked down on, and I think if the Electoral Commission get involved, and I think the main parties should get behind it too, then something's going to be done about it. Definitely.
Okay.
David Wooding, thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Saturday Morning Live.
Right, the Electoral Commission have said that they provide guidance and support to help protect the integrity of elections and work with police to ensure allegations of electoral abuse and intimidation are treated seriously.
We are gathering evidence on the May 2026 elections and will publish our findings in the coming weeks.
I look forward to that. And a Birmingham City Council spokesman said the returning officer has passed on all available observations of potential family voting to the police, and we understand the police have decided to take no further action, and West Midlands Police, they have been approached for comment.
We should also just reiterate that police have concluded after an investigation there was no evidence of family voting or voter coercion at the Gorton and Denton by-election.
Right, well, still to come here on Saturday Morning Live. Is there some growing French resistance? Because the police on the northern coast, they say they've prevented 185 boat crossings in 3 months. There's new footage out showing them being attacked by violent migrants attempting to illegally cross the English Channel. We'll be speaking to someone who's been on the front line with the French authorities.
But next, the Prime Minister is told to allow Nigel Farage to appoint Reform UK peers to the House of Lords, with insiders claiming blocking the party out sets a double standard. We'll debate that story and the rest of today's top stories next here on Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. We're going through the papers with the political commentator Judita De Silva and the political editor of The Critic, Henry Hill. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Should we start with page 2 of the Times? Remarkable story here. Shock rise in borrowing. I say shock rise, it's not a massive surprise. After benefits spending hits £30 billion. Henry, your reaction to these figures and what a tricky spot it puts John Healey in ahead of that October budget.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the fascinating things about the early stages of the Burnham government is that there's this sort of expectation amongst Labour MPs that, oh, maybe they can go back to spending. We're hearing this morning maybe he's done a private deal about increasing the overseas aid budget, when in fact, you know, what we see here is that the welfare bill, which is generally benefits and the state pension, has risen by $2 billion to $30 billion. That means that in a month where normally it's a pretty good fiscal month for the government because it has all the self-assessment tax return income come in, they've actually had a deficit, a monthly deficit. And it's not, you know, for whatever Sir Keir Starmer's many failings were, he wasn't cutting spending just to be mean and because he wanted to do politics on hard mode for no reason. The public accounts are in a really terrible state and the budget is going to be a real make or break moment for this Prime Minister.
Judy, so let's bring you in there, because I was reading this morning that actually forecasters were expecting a £500 million surplus when it comes to borrowing, but actually it was this deficit, which means that actually when you add that up, it's £2.3 billion that we were in deficit. Just what does this mean for John Healey as we come into his preparations for the budget?
It's kind of what I said when he was given the position, that it's actually quite a good thing optically when you look at public opinion, because when you have a man who spectacularly resigned because he's so pro-defence spending and is seen as one of the significant dominoes that led to the fall of Starmer, now he's in the driving seat and actually sees how the sausage is made. The money just isn't there for what you were demanding. And when you think that even within the quote-unquote Q1 of the government's fiscal year, which is April to July, it's down on last year, but still you're operating at this deficit you can't get ahead of. And when you still want to operate within the margins of Rachel Reeves, where your day-to-day spending is covered by your tax receipts, there's no wiggle room for you to operate in. But you said you've pledged to help everyday families to ease the stress of the cost of living. And it's going to be harder than all the pledges that any party makes within the current economic climate is going to be hard to deliver.
Hard to deliver and also unpredictable, Henry, about what the future might hold because of the tendency at the moment of the superpowers to start major wars. We know that's having a major impact on inflation. The energy price cap raised to 13%. What sort of manoeuvre does John Healey have?
I mean, well, if if you're talking about what he ought to be doing, you need to be building a buffer into your figures. This is the one thing that Rachel Reeves never did when she was doing her. If you look at the OBR's various EFOs that have come out, every single time she borrowed the maximum possible amount that she could. She spent every single penny. And that was just assuming that Donald Trump wouldn't get elected, assuming that Donald Trump wouldn't do tariffs, assuming the Ukraine war wouldn't get worse. What you need is you need to be underspending your limit so that you've got a buffer for when things go wrong. And the British state is currently running itself right up to the fiscal wire, which means that every single external shock, we're also probably going to have another very extreme summer next year, because the summer after El Nino is usually worse than the one of El Nino. That means
this summer's been extreme enough for me.
Right, and that means, you know, in parts of the world, food production will be interrupted, all kinds of things, and we have precisely zero in the kitty for adapting to difficult circumstances. He needs to fix that.
Juditha, he needs to fix that, but there isn't perhaps sufficient economic growth to achieve that ambition. British industry is on its knees due to the costs of net zero, and energy prices are sky high, the highest in the developed world. Is there any chance that from John Healey we see some radicalism in October, that it's a proper break from the Starmer and Reeves years, and they say, we are going to do this differently? When we're talking about growth, we really mean it, and here's how we're going to turbocharge it.
He's going to have to, because when you look at the spending that's causing that deficit, it's mostly within public sector. So John Healey's going to have to be the bad guy. You're going to have to look at welfare. You're going to have to look at state pensions. You're going to have to look at everything, because you do need the buffer that you've just mentioned. And whether you're a Labour government, whether you have the dissent of the backbenchers, when you've got someone like John Healey, I think the position he occupies and his provenance into the position gives him a bit of weight that, you know, this is a man who's pulling for the best interest of the country. So difficult decisions being made by him might be swallowed a little easier.
Shall we take a look now at a GB News exclusive by our very own Bill Bowker online? Andy Burnham's being told he must appoint Reform UK peers to the House of Lords as Labour crams in cronies. What do you make of this, Juditha?
No, it's just ironic, because he did the same thing when he wrote to Keir Starmer. Nigel Farage said that he wanted to abolish the House of Lords. Now you are pulling so much to fill them with your people. At the end, the presentation of the House of Lords is that it's kind of meant to be this filtration system to make sure that whatever the Commons is trying to push through, they look into the crossing the T's and dotting the I's to make sure you're doing what's in the best interest of the country. So there shouldn't be any, but we know that in reality it's just political jostling to kind of weight the Lords with whoever is pulling in your favour.
Is it just political jostling, or, Henry Hill, is this a clear example of a democratic disparity in our system, and that Reform UK are being unjustly blocked from access? The Lib Dems are getting plenty more peers, where you have one of the more prominent parties, or the most prominent party in the polls, getting nowhere near that.
I think this is short-sighted by successive governments. There's no constitutional obligation to appoint reform peers, but that's not really the point. The point is that we may well, at some point within the next 5 years, certainly within the next 10 years, have a reform government. And that reform government is going to need to have adequate representation in the House of Lords. And so if you haven't been appointing reform peers during the several years that they've been top of the polls, then that means that Farage is going to have to effectively pack the House by appointing several hundred at once. Now, we have seen this historically, what happened when Labour won their first government. The Labour Party, shockingly, not particularly well represented in the original House of Lords. And so effectively the Conservative Party lent them peers until they could make that work. But I think that it would be much easier for all involved if we brought that on, if we let them in now.
OK, Juditha De Silva, Henry Hill, thank you very much both for your time. We'll see you both in the next hour.
We will indeed. Now, lots more still to come, but first, let's take a look at your news headlines with the lovely Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks very much. Good morning to you. Our headlines: multiple people have died after a crash involving a police vehicle near Middlesbrough in the early hours of this morning. It happened on the A66 in South Bank, which is closed in both directions. Meanwhile, a 6-year-old girl has died in hospital after getting into difficulty in the sea off Shoreham in West Sussex in an incident which also killed her father, mother and sister. The Duchess of Sussex is understood to be in talks about a role in the Guy Ritchie series The Gentleman. It's led to speculation Meghan's return to acting is one of the main reasons she and Harry are returning to the UK. TikTok's agreed to pay almost £300 million to settle a case with the US government over claims its platform violated children's privacy by collecting vast amounts of data. It's one of the largest ever settlements over the issue. And the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he'll impose reciprocal tariffs on US goods Dollar for dollar after a last-minute breakdown in talks, a 50% levy is now in place on nearly $20 billion worth of Canadian exports to America. Headlines up to date for the moment. I'll have more for you at 11.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, still to come here on Saturday Morning Live. After a summer of record-breaking temperatures, are we in for more dramatic weather this autumn? Find out what El Nino is and why it's coming for Britain.
Well, next, French resistance police in France prevent 185 small boat crossings in just 3 months. A shocking new footage shows them being attacked by violent migrants attempting to cross the channel. We'll be speaking to someone who's been on the front line on the French beaches working with French authorities.
This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A dry and cool weekend is on the cards. A bit more sunshine than we've had the past few days, but very little in the way of rain. We've got high pressure in charge, so plenty of sunshine to come today. There is a chance of the odd shower across some central areas for a time, but they do look relatively light, and I think you're unlikely to be caught in one. A few showers also across the very far northwest of Scotland, but otherwise dry and quite sunny. It will be a bit cloudier this afternoon than it looks this morning, and temperatures are below average for the time of year quite widely, in 18 or 19 degrees, approaching the lower 20s though in the south and east, so it'll still feel relatively warm in the sunshine, especially if you're out of that cold northerly wind. More in the way of cloud, though, this evening, where we're closer to this chance of showers across northwestern Scotland. Quite a noticeable breeze affecting the Northern Isles as well into this evening. Clearer skies, some sunny spells across more southern areas of Scotland, and as we move further south into northern England, you can see that chance of showers still developing across more northeastern areas into this evening. Again, I think it's a pretty low chance, but a chance nonetheless. Plenty of dry weather to come, though, overnight. High pressure really dominating our weather, making for cloud-free skies, as you can see here. The winds turn lighter as well, particularly for more inland areas, so that means temperatures will fall away relatively low for the time of year, particularly compared to what we've been used to. Rurally, we'll be down towards the low single figures, so another fresh start to come on Sunday, but probably not quite as fresh as it feels out there this morning. More sunshine again on Sunday, another dry day for many of us, but the far north and west will probably see more in the way of cloud. That's because we've got an approaching weather front. It never really makes it all the way in, but it does just bring more in the way of cloud to parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. But across the south and east, with lighter winds, it will feel a little bit warmer, with temperatures approaching the mid-20s. Bye-bye.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. It's 38 minutes past 10 and new footage has been released showing the French police coming under attack as they attempted to intercept a migrant boat being launched at the channel.
Yes, officers can be seen using pava spray to disperse migrants before deflating the dinghy by slashing it with a knife.
Well, the French police, they say they've prevented 185 small boat crossing attempts in the first 3 months since that deal with France came in, where British taxpayers are handing them £662 million.
Well, are we finally seeing some French resistance? Is the deal value for money?
Joining us now live from France is a journalist, Peter Allen, who's joined, I believe, the French police on the beaches to get a look at their activities. Peter, thanks very much for joining us. We've seen Chris Philp also on the beaches filming a lack of activity. What have you seen?
Well, I've been following the French police in this activity on the beaches of northern France for many years. And I think the biggest change I've seen in recent days is that more elite paramilitary police are becoming involved in this activity, that is to say, trying to stop the migrants getting onto the boats and getting to Britain. That's quite a big change. There's the CRS, the Republican security companies. They are at the forefront of riot control in France. They've built up a notorious reputation in some ways for their robust policing. They're not normal gendarmes or normal kind of police. And I think the video we're watching at the moment shows members of the CRS perhaps using a more forceful approach towards migrants than other police units might do. That seems to be a significant change I've certainly noticed over the last few days.
Peter, we're seeing on the front page of The Express this morning, though, an interview with a lady in France who's saying to Brits and to French people that actually France are also having issues with migrants. We see that on our screens now. In France, we too are afraid of illegal migrants. Do you think that could be a driving force, perhaps, to get the French police to do a bit more?
Well, there's nothing new under the sun. France is a massive migrant nation and always has been. There are about 1 million unregulated migrants living across the French Republic, the south, the central, east, west and north. So clearly there will always be complaints about that. It's very, very hard to regulate, much harder, I would say, than in Britain, because France has 8 land borders with other countries. It has a massive sea border with Africa, of course. And so this is a perennial problem. Certainly there are problems in northern France, and politicians there are extremely angry about it all. And yes, there's no doubt that residents don't like to have unregulated people living in their backyard, as it were. Whether that's affecting the latest French policing, I'm not so sure of that. I think this is really a response to the recent new agreement, Anglo-French agreement over policing, the increase in money that Britain is offering to the French. Some of that is what's known as a flexible fund. It's not guaranteed money to the French, and they have to come up with results. They would argue that they are coming up with results. They're saying that crossings are down 40% on this time last year. Obviously, you can play around with statistics. Sure. A lot of people would say that's not quite right. But that, I think, is the main reason for the change in tactics.
OK, and Peter, I know you say unregulated migrants, and saw much of our audience hear that and think illegal migrants, the 1 million in France. In the particular issue on the north of France, on the border and into the English Channel, one of the concerns that we hear all the time, and including from our own reporters here at GB News, is that even if the French prevent a crossing, the people and the people smugglers trying to get into Britain illegally just go back into the dunes behind the beaches. There's no effort to move them away from that location. There's no attempt to empty these camps and to clear that site. These illegal migrants, if you'll permit me to use that term, they are just kept there awaiting another opportunity. It's all well and good stopping a crossing, but another one will come, and it might even be large enough to take 250 of them.
That's absolutely right, Charlie. This is one of the huge problems with the whole issue. I've been covering it for many years, and it's Kafkaesque. People want to escape. They can't escape. They stay where they are, and then they try and escape again, and they keep trying to escape. It goes on, and I've sat in courts in Calais, Boulogne, and Dunkirk, and you regularly see people appearing. They get very, very short sentences. A lot of those sentences, if they go to prison at all, they're told that they will be kicked out of France at the end of their sentence. Of course, they're not kicked out of France. Very hard to kick people out of France. This is, of course, the criminals involved in this. But, of course, beyond the criminals, there are thousands of men, women and children caught up in this. And they are unregulated. They remain on the beaches. They have a go at getting to Britain. They fail, and they remain where they are. Now, this is the eternal problem with the whole thing. What are the police meant to do? They go to a lot of trouble one morning to stop the migrants getting across. The migrants come back, they're back on the beach, they let them go, and off they go to try again. It's just a circular problem, and that's the reason it goes on and on. You're absolutely right with that, Charlie.
Thank you so much for that, Peter. Alan, really interesting analysis live from Paris for us this morning.
Well, Shabala Mahmood, the Home Secretary, she said that the new UK-France deal is already having a real impact, stopping crossings before they happen and disrupting the criminal gangs behind them.
People smugglers should be in no doubt. We're taking down their operations, seizing their equipment and breaking their business model for good.
Well, if you liked the deal with France, there are some reports in the papers that could soon be one with Belgium, because, of course, there's plenty of crossings being launched from there now. So, hey, more taxpayer cash going towards the EU on that one. Right, well, still to come here on Saturday Morning Live. After a summer of record-breaking temperatures, are we in for more dramatic weather this autumn? Find out what El Niño is and why it's coming for Britain.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, I'm not sure why you'd need to, given the sun we've had here in Britain. But if you are, here's the forecast for some top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Heading away for the final week of summer. Well, there's plenty of dry weather across the Mediterranean, but across parts of Portugal, as well as the Canaries, it's turning quite wet and windy through this weekend. A deep area of low pressure will bring quite strong winds to Madeira, as well as parts of Portugal, and later in the week into parts of Spain and France. Dry, though, as we head further east, particularly towards the Mediterranean, and it's quite hot as well. Temperatures approaching the mid-30s, and there is more sunshine to come in these areas through the week. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I remember it vividly, the first dogfight over Biggin Hill, over New Addington. And this particular morning, the war started. My mother had asked me to go and get her a pint of beer from she wouldn't have drunk or anything, but she liked to drink on a Sunday morning. So she said, well, son, she said, go down and get me a bottle of beer, will you? I mean, all was quiet in the Western Front. So I said, yes, mum. So I'm going down the road now. I hadn't gone quarter of a mile, and all of a sudden there's this confusion, all this noise and that, zooming and banging. I thought, what on earth's that? And I looked up, and there they were, dogfighting over New Addington.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. You know, why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology, when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I have a real treat for you, because I have found women. Yes, and these women are badly behaved in Benidorm, and they've been here for, how long have you been here?
Since Tuesday. Yeah, just a week this time. Normally we do 2 weeks, but just a week this time.
And whereabouts in the UK are you from?
From Surrey.
Surrey. Manchester. Salford.
Doncaster.
Quite the mix, I would say. Are you getting ready to go into the Strip?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, why not? It's iconic.
We do
Love
culture
Benidorm.
First and then the Strip. That's the right way round, right?
If you say so. Will you be out on the Strip?
Most definitely, yet again.
And what's so attractive about it?
The strip or the culture?
The strip.
What am I allowed to say on TV?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. The time is just before 10 to 11 and the Met Office has warned that the El Nino event currently developing over the Pacific is likely to be the strongest in more than 100 years.
Yes, the UK is forecast to be hit by increased rainfall and storms across autumn as a result of the unprecedented weather pattern.
Well, weather expert Phil Morris joins us now. Phil, thanks so much for taking the time to join us this morning. Now, we've seen our fair share of what seems to be extreme weather here in the United Kingdom over the past few months. But just talk to us about El Nino. How is that going to impact us all here in the UK?
Well, El Nino, what it is, natural Pacific weather event in the Pacific. Every 2 to 7 years, the Pacific heats up and you get changes is where the warm water is. Now, many places in Africa and Australia and the Pacific areas are going to get much drier and hotter, so more wildfires, more dramatic weather there. A few areas actually get wetter. What it's likely to do in Britain is to our jet stream will become more invigorated. What do we mean by that? Is low pressures are coming in from the west, swinging from the West Atlantic across the Atlantic and over the UK, so we're likely to get more wet and windy weather than we've had in quite a long time. We have had a magnificent summer. As you just said, the jet stream has been slow. The high has moved up from the south, and we're going to be the hottest ever summer in the UK. And but certainly going into autumn, some autumn weather, some windstorms are likely.
Phil, some people have been doing rain dances in their local towns and villages, hunting for that much treasured bit of rain because of how dry this summer has been. This is quite welcome news, isn't it? Reservoirs running low, we've got drought warnings and all the rest of it. It's quite good news, this El Nino rain.
Well, it is really, because we, as you say, now where I am in the Midlands, I recorded just 1 millimetre rain in the whole of July, where I am in Loughborough. Most of the southern England, there were 63 days at Wisley without any rain. Most of southern England got virtually no rain from the middle of June, when the rain stopped, right through to this week when we had a bit of rain. So reservoirs are 30 to 40% full. They're really very low. And so, yes, we could do with some rain. Having said that, next few days are going back to some dry weather and some warm weather. In the midweek, we could get more rain and showers coming from the south. There's nowhere near the amount of rain we need. What we need is sustained long-term rainfall in this autumn period, which I hope we're going to get, with low pressures coming in, with rain falling, replenish those reservoir stocks and take us back up to the levels that we need to get out of the drought zones. But certainly, I've been recording weather now for 35 years in Leicestershire, and what I've noticed is we're getting more extreme weather. When it rains a lot. We've had loads of months with double the rain, and then we've also had a lot of months where there's been virtually no rain at all in the last 10 years, and there's not so much in the middle. So our usual British weather of 1 day rain, 1 day sun, it doesn't really happen anymore. It goes from one extreme, the flooding, particularly last winter, and then to the summers, which are getting warmer. 9 out of the last 10 summers have been warmest, and 4 of them have been outstanding. This one is going to go into the record books as being warmer than any other summer we've had. We've got 1 week to go, but it's not going to be touched. It's certainly England and Wales, the hottest summer we've ever had. 2 months of unbroken sunshine. So yes, we need the rain, and there will be some rain coming up through autumn, and the El Nino effect should help that along.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for that. I think this rain is going to be very welcome. We've seen some of it up in the northwest where I live this past week, and it's been lovely, I must say. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but actually it's been nice to not be sweating every night when we're asleep.
There we go. An extraordinary sentence. We have seen some rain up in the northwest.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew?
Thanks for a change. Right, loads more coming up on Saturday Morning Live today, including more of today's top stories. There's one that Sophie Reaper is very keen on.
Indeed. Is football, I should say men's football, because women's football, the World Cup, is going to be hosted here in the United Kingdom in 2035, I believe. But Andy Burnham, our new Prime Minister, is making a bid for England to host the World Cup in either, I think it's 2038 or 2042. That's a huge amount of time that would have elapsed between when we last had it, when we won in 1966 against West Germany.
Indeed.
Yeah.
When we secured the Olympics in 2012, Tony Blair was very lucky because the then French president made some comments about Finnish cuisine not being very nice, having a go at cuisine, and that meant that we got the votes from that European nation to get it. So
unlike Eurovision,
maybe the press will do it again. We'll get the World Cup back to Britain. We'll see if we can do it.
We'll see.
All that coming up after the break.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. High pressure is in charge this weekend, and that means after a chilly start this morning, most areas should see a dry start to the weekend with plenty of sunny spells. And here's that area of high pressure behind me, eventually building its way eastwards in from the west across the Atlantic. This does drag in a bit of a northerly feeder there, so that means things might feel that little bit cooler around any exposed coastal areas. And at times it'll drag in a little bit of cloud, this thick enough to produce the odd light shower across the far north of Scotland. But otherwise, most places will be dry, plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. Like I said, feeling that bit cooler around some coastal areas, but inland, particularly across the south, highs could still reach around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius, so still pleasant in the brighter weather. Now, to finish off the day across Scotland, still plenty of cloud around, still a few showers just edging into some northern coasts. Otherwise, a mostly dry end to the day. Similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some patchy cloud, also some clearer spells to finish off the day. Fairly similar elsewhere across England and Wales, the best of the clearer skies across the far south of England. Now, eventually through the course of the night, we'll see more of those clearer skies. So similar to last night, those temperatures will soon be dipping away. It's likely that some rural spots under the clearer skies will drop down to the low single figures. Perhaps a bit more in the way of cloud across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland by the time we reach the morning. And there could be some spots of mist and fog as well, but this should clear quite quickly through the course of Sunday morning. So another fresh, cool, if not quite autumnal feel to Sunday morning, but things will eventually warm up quite quickly through the course of the day. It's likely we'll see less cloud around tomorrow, and that'll allow temperatures to rise. But once again, it could be quite cloudy at times across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and parts of Northern England. Still feeling warm in the sunshine, highs reaching into the low 20s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's brand new and it's the big one. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could win this brand new 4-berth motorhome. But that's just the beginning, as we'll also give you a whopping £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend, save, or just to use to enjoy adventures in your new motorhome.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me. It's 11 a.m. on Saturday, the 22nd of August, live across the United Kingdom. This is Saturday Morning Live.
Well, what a week for the Sussexes, a right royal return to Blighty, and now a £9.5 million legal bill footed by Prince Harry and his group following his court battle with the Daily Mail.
Yes, we're all going to be on the ground in the Cotswolds today to find out what residents think about potentially becoming Harry and Meghan's new neighbours, and also on the Duchess's rumoured return to the screen.
Well, could this be the area that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are returning to, as it's rumoured in newspapers today that Prince Harry is pleading with the Home Secretary for answers over his security concerns. I'll have all the details from Cirencester.
Meanwhile, are we looking at another Labour freebie scandal? MPs are accused of failing to learn their lesson, as it's revealed Burnham's top team have accepted everything from free Harry Styles tickets to Chelsea Flower Show passes.
And is the criminal investigation into Peter Mandelson about to fall apart? There are rumours that the US authorities have failed to hand over key files linked to the Jeffrey Epstein case, and without them, the police cannot bring forward charges.
An election watchdog has been urged to investigate allegations of family voting. That's across multiple wards in Birmingham at this year's local elections.
And are we seeing some French resistance? Police in France have prevented 185 small boat crossings in 3 months. Shocking new footage has been released showing them being attacked by violent migrants attempting to illegally cross the English Channel.
We'll be speaking to someone who's been on the front line with the French authorities, and is the action enough for Andy Burnham's government to win back trust with the public?
Also this morning, the number of men living with prostate cancer has surged by 100,000 since 2020, according to Macmillan Cancer Support.
Fiscal credibility is the bedrock of economic stability and national security.
There's fresh warnings that the UK borrowed more than expected in July because of increased spending on benefits. That's a fresh headache for Chancellor John Healey ahead of his first budget in November.
And after a record-breaking summer of heat, are we in for more dramatic weather this autumn? Find out what El Niño is and why it's coming for Britain.
Football's coming home again! Good England! Good England!
I believe that was me there at the World Cup this year. Could football be coming home, in one sense at least? Prime Minister Andy Burnham is reportedly plotting a bid for the UK to host the World Cup in 2042. The biggest stories, boldest opinions and liveliest debates over the next hour. I'm Sophie Reaper.
And I'm Charlie Peters. Your weekend starts here. Good morning, great to have your company today. So much to get through in this hour. Sophie, we're going to be going to the Cotswolds and Cirencester. We're looking at these weather patterns, the World Cup, but also that really interesting story coming out of the Daily Mail today about allegations of voter fraud in Birmingham in the local elections. 50 different polling stations. Concerns have been raised. There's been an urge for the Electoral Commission to investigate, and a polling expert says he doubts it's the only city where this happened. Very interesting story. I expect we'll have plenty of developments on that.
Well, we heard after the Gorton and Denton by-election that there was a similar investigation carried out by Greater Manchester Police. They, of course, said they found no evidence of this kind of action, but it's very interesting to see that this kind of thing keeps happening.
Yes, please do let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Are our current policies and preparations for voter fraud strong enough? What changes do you think we need? Very keen to take your perspective.
But before we do anything else, Aaron Armstrong has got all your latest news headlines.
Thank you very much indeed. Good morning to you. Our headlines. Multiple people have died after a crash involving a police vehicle near Middlesbrough in the early hours of this morning. Cleveland police say the collision involving a Volkswagen Passat took place on the A66 in South Bank, and they're working to identify the victims and contact their families. More on that when we have it. Now, a 6-year-old girl has died in hospital 3 days after getting into difficulty in the sea off West Sussex. Saja El Hawass was rescued in critical condition after the incident in Shoreham on Tuesday. Her mother, father and older sister died at the scene of the accident. The incident involving the British-Palestinian family from London took place at Kingston Beach. It's around 6 miles from Brighton. Police say the investigation remains open, but they believe it was a tragic accident. The Duchess of Sussex is in talks to appear in a Netflix series when she moves to the UK. It's understood Meghan is in advanced discussions to join the cast for the third series of the Guy Ritchie series, The Gentleman. It would be her first significant acting job since her marriage to Prince Harry. It has led to speculation that Meghan's return to acting is one of the main reasons she and her husband are returning to the country. Meanwhile, Prince Harry and 6 other figures have been ordered to pay £9.5 million by next Friday to the publisher of the Daily Mail. They are covering Associated Newspapers' legal costs after their privacy suit was dismissed last month. The investigation into whether Lord Mandelson passed confidential information to Jeffrey Epstein is at risk of collapse. Police believe US authorities are unlikely to hand over the key unredacted files needed to bring misconduct charges against him. Scotland Yard has requested documents from American authorities, but has yet received no response from the FBI or the US Department of Justice. It's understood the Met Police is pursuing legal avenues to force their hand, but it could take years. TikTok has agreed to pay almost £300 million to settle a case with the US government. It's over claims the platform violated children's privacy by collecting vast amounts of data. The deal stems from a 2024 lawsuit by the Department of Justice under former President Joe Biden. It's one of the largest ever settlements over the issue. TikTok is yet to respond to requests for comment. Authorities in Ukraine say at least 2 people have been killed on Saturday in the latest Russian airstrikes. It came after 16 people died in a daytime drone attack on a busy shopping centre in President Zelensky's hometown of Kryvyi Rih. 9 people are reportedly still missing as emergency services search for survivors. Mr. Zelensky says the country will respond to what he has described as an act of barbarism. And the Met Office is warning of more unprecedented weather to come this autumn and winter. The strongest El Niño in living memory is expected by forecasters, who say significant storms and rainfall will hit the UK in the months ahead. The natural climate phenomenon raises global temperatures and can increase the risk of extreme weather. That's it for the moment. I'll have more for you at about 11:30.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Aaron, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Sophie Reaper and Charlie Peters.
Now, Prince Harry and 6 other high-profile figures have been ordered to make an initial payment of £9.5 million to the Daily Mail's publisher after losing their High Court privacy case.
The claimants, including Sir Elton John and Liz Hurley, sued Associated Newspapers over allegations of unlawful information, which they strenuously denied.
Well, there's good news, however, for Meghan, who could appear in the 3rd series of Guy Ritchie's Netflix series, The Gentleman.
It's understood she's in early stage of conversations, and if successful, it would mark her first big acting role since she'd left Suits back in 2017.
Well, rumours are also swirling around where the Sussexes will end up living when they arrive back in Britain. And let's speak now to our national reporter, Jack Carson, who's live in the Cotswolds, which is the centre of said rumours. Jack, great to be with you this morning in Cirencester. What are the locals there telling you about their potential new neighbours?
Yeah, well, of course, this is one of the rumoured areas for them to be coming back to. The Cotswolds were in Cirencester today, the capital, as you like, of this area. People we've been speaking to on the street today, very much mixed opinions. Some, I think, haven't necessarily forgiven the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in the way that they left the UK around 6 years ago. So certainly a lot of strong feelings on the street today. Lots of reasons why they might well be coming to an area like this. We know there's plenty of A-list celebrities from the United States that live in the Cotswolds already, the likes of Ellen DeGeneres, who we know when living in California, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, had a relationship with her, and Prince Harry went to the renewing of the vows of Ellen DeGeneres and her wife Portia a few years ago. So there are already some long-standing friendly relationships in this area, as well as, of course, you know, Prince Harry having that option of being close to London and close to the Highgrove if some kind of reconciliation is to take place with His Majesty the King. But what do people think about them coming back to the UK? Do they care? And is the Cotswolds the kind of place that people think they should be coming back to? We've been asking people on the street in Cirencester today. Take a listen to what they told us.
Do you know why she's coming back? And him, her husband?
Why?
Because she's been offered an acting role. So, but really, I just think they can live where they like, can't they? Really, not affecting anybody.
I would think that in the Cotswolds, some people might be very upset, and some people might be very happy. It depends on their point of view with how they view them.
Personally, it doesn't bother me one way or other. It's all this looking for intentions most of the time, and if they want to come here, good luck to them.
Yeah, so a bit of a mixed reaction there. It certainly is dividing opinion across the country. A YouGov poll done yesterday says 3 in 5 Britons say they don't care at all, and some 27% saying they don't care very much. A lot of people say they have made peace, if you like, with the whole decision. But ultimately, so much of people's opinions coming down to what the expectation is from the taxpayer. So that then brings up all of a sudden the security concerns. Prince Harry had made clear concerns over the past couple of years around his security concerns of being in the UK, wondering whether the UK was a safe place for them to be as a family. It's been reported certainly in newspapers such as The Telegraph that the Duke of Sussex has privately pleaded with the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood for answers on his security as he prepares to move back to the UK. We know that is currently under review by the RAVIC's Risk Management Board. They ultimately make those decisions, but it's said that Prince Harry says he feels numbed by his struggle to secure protection and wanted his family to be safe. People we've spoken to here in Cirencester have said that ultimately is one of the sticking points that they have, that as free citizens they are more than welcome to come back to the UK. They don't really care exactly too much what they do with their lives on that point, but how much is the taxpayer having to step up to enable them to be and live in this country securely? That ultimately, I think, is where that divide in public opinion starts to come.
Jack, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because it seems like things are all coming up roses for the Duchess of Sussex with this potential acting role. But for Prince Harry, it's been a bit of a rough welcome back with the news yesterday of this £9.5 million they're going to have to fork out to start to pay back the Mail's legal fees.
Absolutely. I mean, and that is where disputes continue as well, because the Associated Newspapers Limited have asked for an initial interim payment, if you like, of more than £9.9 million when it comes to their legal costs. But it's understood that lawyers for Harry and the other claimants say that payment should just be over £7.9 million. So we could end up in a situation where we're needing further hearings within some kind of court to be able to determine exactly what the structure of payment looks like, and that's then when that comes into the situation of protection, because if Prince Harry and the Duke of and the Duchess of Sussex are having to pay for their own protection in the UK, they're going to want some kind of agreement with their lawyers with exactly how much money they're having to pay back, and when. It could be quite a costly move back to the UK for both of them when they do so, in what we understand to be by the end of this month.
Jack, our national reporter, thank you so much for that. I have to say, Jack, you're very sharply dressed this morning. Fabulous suit.
Thank you very much.
Top man.
All three of us in fabulous suits this morning.
Oh, we do our bit.
What a team we are.
Right, it's 13 minutes past 11. We've got some breaking news to bring you now. The Independent Office for Police Conduct have said that they have now launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding a fatal road traffic collision in Middlesbrough overnight. They say that the collision happened following a pursuit involving officers from Cleveland Police.
At around 3:39 a.m, a car travelled onto the A66 in South Bank where it collided with a police vehicle. Multiple people have died in this collision. We'll be bringing you the latest on that breaking news story as we get it.
Well, moving on now, the number of men living with prostate cancer in Britain has surged by 100,000 since 2020. That's according to Macmillan Cancer Support.
The charity said the latest figures show more than 68,000 men are newly diagnosed in the UK each year, the equivalent of one diagnosis every 8 minutes. That's shocking.
It is. And the latest estimates show there are now around 600,000 men living with prostate cancer in Britain, compared with around 500,000 in 2020.
Well, joining us now is the CEO of Prostate Cancer Research, Oliver Kemp. Oliver, thank you for joining us this morning. We know that prostate cancer is the most common form of cancer in the UK, and of course, looking at those statistics, it's clear it's become much more common in the last 6 years alone. What can men be doing, first of all? Let's get into that straight away. What can men be doing to check themselves and to try and catch this cancer early?
Yeah, so if men have symptoms, if they're finding that they're peeing through the night, that they can't fully empty their bladder, they're finding that they have slow drip of urine, then please go and see your doctor, go and see the GP, tell them about the symptoms and ask for a PSA test.
And Oliver, with the statistics that we've just read out there, what do you think is behind this rise in diagnosis? Is that because previously people just weren't as aware, that you've seen a surge in attention and focus on this? Or is this also about an improvement in diagnostic capabilities?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, the demographics of the UK are changing. We're all getting slightly older, so there are more older men. Secondly, I think there's been a huge amount of publicity around prostate cancer. Not only has there been coverage across the press and the newspapers, and of course all of the work on screening, but also we've seen some really high-profile figures, Jeremy Clarkson, Sir Chris Hoy, David Cameron, speaking openly about prostate cancer and their own diagnosis. And we do see those numbers surge immediately after people start talking about it.
Oliver, the government have faced a lot of criticism in recent months, and particularly, in fact, I've seen online in the last few days regarding a national screening programme for prostate cancer. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something that we should be implementing nationwide to try and perhaps bring these numbers down?
Yeah, I mean, Prostate Cancer Research argued very strongly that we should be implementing a screening programme, particularly for those at the highest risk, and those men with family history, like Sir Chris Hoy, and black men, where you've got double the risk of getting prostate cancer than white men. So those two groups, for certain, should have a national screening programme in place. We did our own analysis on that, and we actually found that the NHS would save money by implementing that.
Oliver Kemp, very interesting insight. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That's Oliver Kemp, who's the CEO of Prostate Cancer Research. Thank you, Oliver. And there is still plenty to come here on Saturday Morning Live.
Fiscal credibility is the bedrock of economic stability and national security.
There's fresh warnings that the UK borrowed more than expected in July because of increased spending on benefits. That's a fresh headache for Chancellor John Healey ahead of his first budget this November.
But next, there are reports that Britain is set to cut a deal with Belgium to slash the small boat crossings in the English Channel. We've already had £660 million to France. Could the Belgians be the next beneficiaries of our coffers? Find out next here on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
To Saturday Morning Live. It's 11:21 and we're going through the papers now with the political commentator Judita De Silva and the political editor of The Critic, Henry Hill. Welcome back, you two. How are we doing?
Good, thank you.
All swell? Great.
Yeah.
There's this very interesting story in the Mail, Henry, about electoral fraud in Birmingham, the Electoral Commission being urged to investigate amid reports that there were breaches at 50 different polling stations. Lord Hayward, the Tory pollster who introduced the law to tackle this in 2023, he's saying that it's highly unlikely this has only happened in Birmingham, and he's also urging the Commission to take a look. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so this is describing family voting, which is basically attempts to influence people in the ballot box, either by following them in to watch them cast their vote, or by, in other ways, trying to pressure people into voting. And apparently what we're hearing is, or what the report says, is that the returning officer was confronting people trying to do this and was actually receiving abuse and potentially intimidating behaviour. Now, this is obviously deeply troubling because, one, it's bad in itself if this is happening brazenly in polling stations, but it also makes you think, all of the postal ballots, all of those votes being cast at home, if somebody's prepared to come in and try and intimidate people in a polling station, they are not going to be letting people cast a private vote in the privacy of their own home, are they?
Judita, what do you make to this? I mean, these concerns are very serious. When they were looked at in Gorton and Denton, Greater Manchester Police saying basically there's nothing awry here. But there does appear to be a rise in these concerns. I mean, 50 different polling stations just in one city, for example, in May's local elections. It's raising quite a few questions.
I mean, definitely that it's something that has to be looked at and seen to be dealt like nipped in the bud because, again, you look at, like you said, the broader scope of what this could affect. But then you do have, when you look culturally at the kinds of places that it's dealing with, especially in Birmingham, there is a tribal mentality where large families who are kind of leaning towards a certain direction, you do discuss things together and think that, oh, you can vote together and move as a bloc. So it's kind of taking that idea of fealty to a party to another level. But when you're compromising the democratic process, it's something that does have to be addressed.
I mean, this article in the Mail is very thorough. I mean, it gives plenty of examples, Henry. A woman was aggressive when told not to talk or show her vote. A father was seen holding all the polling cards and was advising them how to vote. One woman went into a booth with her daughter and told staff she wanted to make sure she voted correctly. How can this be allowed to happen?
I mean, one, it shouldn't be allowed to happen. It is a breach of electoral law, and it suggests that you might actually, if the returning officer can't stop people doing it, if people are so brazen that they're prepared to do that, that means you might have to have police at polling stations. Like so many of the norms that underpin the way that we do democracy in this country, it's very light touch. It's all volunteers at polling stations. Those depend on people respecting the rules. Yeah. And if suddenly you're having to, have police officers at every polling station,
which isn't realistic, is it? By the way, when we think about how many polling stations there are.
Of course not. But then you're at the question of, okay, can we trust the electoral process? This is really, really troubling stuff.
It's very difficult, Judith. So the Electoral Commission have said in a statement that they are gathering more information on this, and also they're going to work with the police to ensure that allegations of abuse and intimidation are treated seriously. But Judita, there will be quite a few people watching and listening to this right now and saying, do they actually trust the police to look into this properly, especially in West Midlands, where we've seen the Maccabi Tel Aviv fan ban, police officers using AI-related information that was false to do that, in part, surely, because there was a concern about community cohesion and a backlash and tension in the area. Can we trust the police to look into this if it might point towards specific communities being involved in this rule breaking? Or would they rather just look away from it?
No, I think that the police do have an opportunity here to be decisive in their action and do it while it's contained to a particular area. But the part that actually really concerns me most is that point you raised, where a lot of the elections are carried out by just volunteers, like everyday people who throw their manpower at getting this thing done. And if you create an environment where they feel unsafe, why would they spend their free time and volunteer their free time to help the electoral process go through? Once you lose them, you've got a very difficult situation. So you need to serve action and risk the possibility of being seen to be the bad guy in the interest of the greater good.
But do you think, Henry, that they will risk, as Judita says, looking like the bad guy? Where do we go from this? I mean, we mentioned earlier about the Gorton and Denton by-election that GMP were forced to investigate, and they said they found no evidence. But do you think police forces will be willing to appear the bad guy?
I mean, I think this is a big problem we have with policing in general. You see it especially pronounced with public order policing, where they prioritise keeping the peace over upholding the law. And the idea is that maybe they can go in afterwards. So we're hearing now that there are going to be prosecutions, and maybe they will pick up some of these people and bring charges. But the important thing about the law is that it is seen to be upheld on the day, right? If you have people intimidating people in polling stations and a month later the police go and pick them up because of CCTV footage, fine, you've done some element of your job, but you have still let them undermine our democratic process.
I think it is a tricky situation. And let's hear what a Birmingham City Council spokesman said on this. So the returning officer has passed on all available observations of potential family voting to the police. They also say they understand that police have decided to take no further action. And of course, West Midlands Police have been approached for comment. And on Gorton and Denton, the police have concluded that after an investigation, there was no evidence of family voting or voter coercion at that electoral count. So what should we do next?
Shall we take a look at this in the Telegraph? Cigars face being stubbed out for good in the nanny state attack, Judita. What do we think of this?
You're not going to get any pushback from me, because if you're doing anything to curtail tobacco consumption, you get my support. But even when you look at it is a niche section of tobacco consumption when you look at cigars. In countries like Canada and Australia, they already have this streamlined packaging because you don't want to be seen to, like when in fashion, when you have an LV or a CC of Chanel or the lion's head of Versace, it's a status symbol. And everyone I know who ever started smoking cigars, it was ascribing to the perception of a lifestyle as opposed to a generally sensory desire. So that is what cigars represent. And everyone, like when you talk to cigar smokers, oh, the Monte Cristo Cubano is this Rolls Royce of cigars. It's a lifestyle thing. But if it also affects health, that costs money, that affects the economy. So do something proactive to not introduce younger people who want to be seen to be elite into smoking it.
As you were saying, when you speak to cigar smokers, I looked over to Henry Hill to raise my eyebrows in case that was the case.
I'm primarily a cigarette smoker, but I am partial to a good cigar now and again. I mean, I think the thing is, cigars, relatively niche tobacco product. The impact on the economy, on the health NHS is going to be fundamentally trivial. And people don't owe a duty of perfect health to the state, right? Let people enjoy things once in a while.
And do you know what I think, Henry? If you're smoking cigars, there's a realistic possibility you've got bupa. Yeah, you're probably a private insurance person.
I can't say I've ever. I think I don't know about you, but I'm never really around it. Maybe an occasional friend of mine will enjoy a cigar at a wedding, perhaps as a celebration. It's not been anything I've ever really been around.
That would be a bit strong. Shall we go on to this story on our website? Britain is set to cut a deal with Belgium, apparently, Henry, to slash the small boat crossings in the English Channel. The deal with France, £662 million. The gangs, being savvy criminals, they've adapted and they've gone further north instead.
Yep, it's always whack-a-mole. You start searching the lorries, we get boat crossings. You start actually getting an effective deal with France, they move to Belgium. So this is good policy. It seems to focus a lot on data sharing, which was curtailed when we left the European Union. Hopefully, it will also involve a muscular Belgian police response. But the critical thing is that any of those countries where they have coastline that's relatively close to Britain, we are going to end up needing one of those deals.
Now, Judita, it's really interesting because I hadn't heard anything about this until this story kind of came to fruition on our website. But it was in 2025, there was 2 crossings from Belgium. That was it. In the first 4 months of this year alone, there were 32. Now, you might say 32 when you compare that to the Channel crossings. That's not, coming over from France, that's not quite as much of a concern yet. But going from 2 to 32 in the space of a year, that then does perhaps start to be concerning when you think about the exponential growth potential.
Yeah, because when you're looking at this particular problem, it's what they call boat taxis. So these smuggler boats kind of go down the coastline. I think it's Depan, Newport and Middlekirk, and they pick up people along the coastline and take them towards France. And the Belgian police have been very effective. Like you said, in the whole of last year, it was 2. In a space of 4 months, it's 32. And since then, in the last month, it's been radically reduced. So what the Home Office is looking to do is that when you strike a deal with an effective country like Belgium, they're hoping it will domino towards countries like France and Germany to expand the sharing, because remember, they no longer have access to the Schengen system. This is just individual data around DNA, license plates and fingerprints. They need more information because one of the problems that keeps coming up is we don't know who these people are. And if you know who the smugglers are, you can actually be more effective in stopping them.
OK, Judita and Henry, thank you so much for your time this morning. Some of you getting in touch on gbnews.com/your say, particularly on that Birmingham story. Cuthbert, very smart name, says polling stations should be manned by ex-military personnel. No offence to the elderly middle-class types that you usually encounter at the polling station, but they just don't command any authority or respect. It's pretty harsh.
I think so.
Isn't it?
Well, I will say the 2 chaps that were in my polling station this year were great. I mean, they weren't ex-military, I wouldn't have assumed. They didn't seem to be, but they were very knowledgeable about the voting process. They seemed across everything, and I think for volunteers, that's really all you can ask for.
Well, John Charlton says, family voting, never. Ostriches and sand come to mind. I think you might be on something there, Mr. Charlton. Right, it's 32 minutes past 11. Let's cross over and get your news headlines from Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you. A reminder of the breaking news this morning. The Independent Office for Police Conduct has launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding a fatal road traffic collision in Middlesbrough. Multiple people have died following a pursuit involving officers from Cleveland Police. A 6-year-old girl has died in hospital after getting into difficulty in the sea off Shoreham in West Sussex in an incident which also killed her father, mother and sister. Saja El Hawass had been rescued in critical condition on Tuesday. The Duchess of Sussex is understood to be in talks about a role in the Guy Ritchie series The Gentleman. It's led to speculation Meghan's return to acting as one of the main reasons she and Harry are returning to the UK. TikTok's agreed to pay almost £300 million to settle a case with the US government over claims its platform violated children's privacy by collecting vast amounts of data. And the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he'll impose reciprocal tariffs on US goods dollar for dollar. A 50% levy is now on place on nearly $20 billion worth of Canadian exports to the US after trade talks broke down. You're up to date with the headlines. More coming up at midday.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you for those updates, Aaron. Now, still to come on Saturday Morning Live.
Football's coming home again! Good England! Good England!
Well, could football be coming home? The Prime Minister Andy Burnham is reportedly plotting a bid for the UK to host the World Cup in 2042.
But next, there's fresh warnings that the UK borrowed more than expected in July because of increased spending on benefits. A fresh headache for Chancellor John Healey ahead of his first budget come November.
This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel. See you shortly.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. High pressure is in charge this weekend, and that means after a chilly start this morning, most areas should see a dry start to the weekend with plenty of sunny spells. And here's that area of high pressure behind me, eventually building its way eastwards in from the west across the Atlantic. This does drag in a bit of a northerly feed of air, so that means things might feel that little bit cooler around any exposed coastal areas, and at times it'll drag in a little bit of cloud, this thick enough to produce the odd light shower across the far north of Scotland. But otherwise, most places will be dry, plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. Like I said, feeling that bit cooler around some coastal areas, but inland, particularly across the south, highs could still reach around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius, so still pleasant in the brighter weather. Now, to finish off the day across Scotland, still plenty of cloud around, still a few showers just edging into some northern coasts, otherwise a mostly dry end to the day. Similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some patchy cloud, also some clearer spells to finish off the day. Fairly similar elsewhere across England and Wales, the best of the clearer skies across the far south of England. Now, eventually through the course of the night, we'll see more of those clearer skies. So similar to last night, those temperatures will soon be dipping away. It's likely that some rural spots under the clearer skies will drop down to the low single figures. Perhaps a bit more in the way of cloud across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland by the time we reach the morning. And there could be some spots of mist and fog as well, but this should clear quite quickly through the course of Sunday morning. So another fresh, cool, if not quite autumnal feel to Sunday morning, but things will eventually warm up quite quickly through the course of the day. It's likely we'll see less cloud around tomorrow, and that'll allow temperatures to rise. But once again, it could be quite cloudy at times across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and parts of Northern England. Still feeling warm in the sunshine, highs reaching into the low 20s.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. The time is 11:37 and the government borrowed more than expected in July, according to figures published as Chancellor John Healey draws up his first ever budget.
Yes, the Office for National Statistics said borrowing was £2.3 billion more than the official forecasts, and that borrowing was also £1.8 billion in July. That's two-thirds higher than the same month last year. So what will it mean for Chancellor John Healey's first budget in November? And does it leave the Prime Minister with any room for manoeuvre amid his cost of living focus? Well, joining us now is the economist Julian Jessup. Julian, great to speak to you this morning. What is your reaction then to these figures? Is it an indication of the spending spree that Reeves and Starmer are up to?
Yeah, I wouldn't make too much of 1 month's numbers alone. Even though the borrowing was about $2 billion higher than expected, that's not actually a huge miss in the context of the public finances overall. So that's the relatively small difference between two very large numbers, which is spending and revenues, each of which are over $1 trillion in a full year. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about these particular numbers, but it is indicative of an underlying problem in the public finances. So July is usually a pretty good month because it's a bumper month for income tax revenues. But despite that, a bigger increase in welfare spending more than offset higher than expected tax receipts. So we do have a problem. Even in a good month, the government is spending far more than it's actually coming in. As for the budget in October, I think there are an awful lot of moving parts here. There are still some things that might go right. So the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility might be a bit more optimistic about productivity and growth. But there are many, many more things, I think, that are likely to go wrong. So the cost of government borrowing is rising.
There are lots of pressures that any government would face from an ageing population, defence spending. But on top of that, and here I think is the killer, this new government doesn't seem any more willing than the previous one to get on top of welfare spending. If anything, it seems to be more generous in lots of areas, including the public sector pay bill. Overseas aid looks like that's going to rise again. So I think further tax increases, unfortunately, look inevitable from here.
Julian, I just want to take you back because you said there that you wouldn't perhaps be that concerned by the numbers. But when you take a look at it, not only did they borrow 1.8 billion, but forecasters were actually thinking that it was going to be a £500 million surplus thanks to the taxes, as you mentioned. So actually 2.3 billion, when you take a look at that actually, to me, and I'm sure to many of our viewers at home, seems like a pretty hefty chunk. So do you think that's going to put the pressure on John Healey when it comes to him looking at the budget? Surely he's going to have to do something to try and mitigate this.
Well, as I say, it's only 1 month, and of course you're right. $1 billion here, $1 billion there. After a while, he's starting to talk about real money. But when the Chancellor sits down to make his decisions, it will be based on the OBR forecast for the next several years. It won't be based just on one single month's data. But you're also absolutely right. It does indicate this underlying problem that, even if we're getting relatively good news on tax revenues from the point of view of the Treasury, that's being more than offset by relatively bad news on public sector spending, particularly on welfare. And as I say, this government doesn't have a serious plan to get welfare spending under control. Nor, I must say, do most other parties. Even Reform, which has a relatively ambitious plan to cut welfare spending, it's not willing to tackle one of the biggest single risks, which is the rising cost of the triple lock on the state pension. I mean, no major party seems willing to tackle that.
Yes, Julian, I think the pensions are almost certainly going to be the most protected state benefits. And when you look at the polling on it, it's clear to see why. All these parties are jostling to work out which benefits they can cut and remain politically alive. And the pension, obviously, is nowhere near that list. Do you think, though, I know you're an economist, not a political strategist, but with these figures that we're referring to, it's really imperative now for the state to get serious on PIP, on universal credit, and that the generosity, shall we say, that was forced over last year might have to be reversed now if we are going to start to cut down the deficit.
No, I think that's absolutely right. If you look at the two big chunks of welfare spending that are expected to increase, one is age-related spending, the state pension in particular, but the other is disability benefits. And I think all parties recognise to varying degrees that there is a big problem here. There's been an explosion of spending on disability benefits with no obvious increase in the number of people who are genuinely ill or in need of them. I think also even people who are supporters of increased spending on benefits recognise that's not always the right thing to do for everybody. It's much better to support people into work and to boost their incomes, and therefore they rely less on the state than they would otherwise have done. So I think there's a broad cross-party recognition that part of the benefit bill needs to be tackled. But I'm not sure anybody's really yet come up with a fully credible plan for doing so.
Well, Julian Jessup, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It'd be interesting to see the plan that John Healey comes up with for his budget in November.
Yes, all eyes on October. Will it be a Halloween scare for the taxpayer? Right, well, still to come here on Saturday Morning Live.
Football's coming home again! Good England! Good England!
Could football be coming home? Prime Minister Andy Burnham is reportedly plotting a bid for the UK to host the World Cup in 2042.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, let's have a look at the forecast for the top European travel destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heading away for the final week of summer. Well, there's plenty of dry weather across the Mediterranean, but across parts of Portugal as well as the Canaries, it's turning quite wet and windy through this weekend. A deep area of low pressure will bring quite strong winds to Madeira as well as parts of Portugal and later in the week into parts of Spain and France. Dry though as we head further east, particularly towards the Mediterranean, and it's quite hot as well. Temperatures approaching the mid-30s, and there is more sunshine to come in these areas through the week. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Becky, Chad and the beekeepers, Richard, Mohammed and James. Well, thank you all for coming. So tell us what happened.
So I got a phone call about 7:30 on Sunday evening from one of the rangers to tell us that there was a forest fire that was spreading quite rapidly and the bees were in danger, and if we could get down as soon as we could to get them out.
Well, I suppose this is a real challenge because bees, whilst they do flit around all over the place, they're pretty stuck to their colonies.
Yes, absolutely. The boys were the ones that were there.
When we approached it, the fire was quite close to the colonies, so we had to make a decision very quickly on whether or not to remove them from the apiary or keep them there and try and just water down the area. And after we saw flames on the horizon, we decided that, no, we've just got to make the decision to move the bees to a safer place, which we did.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I do think it's worrying that young people, I mean, are they I think they are more risk averse. Yes. I think they are scared of getting into personal space. I think you're right, there are issues about consent and everything else. But how sad that people say that it's been a year since they've been kissed. What is life for if you're not having a little kiss every now and again?
Yeah, the death of the kiss.
Apparently, much younger people now haven't had a good snog in over 12 months on average, the people that have been interviewed. But I would hazard a guess that that's because people are frightened. Men don't know when they can approach women anymore. Men can think 1 or 2 steps ahead on the same board, whereas a woman will think about 18 steps. So
I think you're overthinking it.
If a man takes you to Paris for the weekend, a woman will come back disappointed that they haven't proposed them, whereas a man thinks they've done a really great thing.
Why do men always think you're going to be proposed to in Paris? That you expect that. We don't expect
men are not
that. Just take
emotionally
us to
intelligent.
Paris.
The People's Channel.
We're only here for like 12 hours. We're flying home at 11 o'clock tonight.
Oh, and mummy and daughter.
Yeah, and it only costs £70, so we thought, well, why not? Because it's cheaper than a supermarket shop.
Supermarket shop or spending the day in Benidorm with cheap booze.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer.
And is there no chance you might just decide we're going to stay?
No, because my husband would kill me.
We did consider it because I said to my mum earlier on, we might just stay and miss the flight, but she's not up for it.
Has your husband actually visited Benidorm his own?
No, he hasn't. I've been here 27 times. That's my daughter's first time. She's a Benidorm virgin. But
well,
my husband's never been.
Not that he's told you anyway, let's put it like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and Sophie Reaper. Plenty of you getting in touch on gbnews.com/your say, and lots of reactions to the discussion we were just having about the national debt and about inflation. Plenty of you getting in touch to say, didn't mention Julian Jessup, the economist who is with us, the 2-child benefit cap being lifted. Yes, that's a very important one as well to look at. I think politically unlikely that they'll change that one, though, Sophie. There's all sorts of focus on what might be changed. Bubby Bev just says, leave our pensions alone. If you have money for illegals, don't touch our pensions.
A lot of people as well getting in touch about the potential voting fraud incident that's in the Daily Mail today. The Bruce says, regarding voter fraud, family voting is of minor concern. The biggie is postal vote fraud. That's an interesting one.
I think, we have to get real about ID. I mean, a lot of you getting in touch today about this, about how do you actually identify someone, perhaps if they're wearing a face covering, and do we trust the volunteers in these areas to actually ask and check? Because clearly there are some concerns.
Well, is this a potential solution? Maggie says, in areas where family voting is a concern, polling stations should adopt a one-in, one-out system like we did during COVID and have separate entrance and exit points. Now, I don't think you could implement that in just areas of concern, as it were, but if it were to be, if these investigations continue, is it worth exploring that as an option? Do you only allow one person in at one time?
Socially distanced voting. There we go. Right, it's 49 minutes past 11. The Prime Minister is exploring a bid to host the Men's World Cup in Britain.
Yes, Andy Burnham is reportedly speaking to the FA and the Premier League about the potential to host the tournament either in 2038 or 2042.
Well, the move would bring the World Cup back to Britain for the first time since 1966.
The Men's World Cup, we should say. The Men's World Cup.
Right.
Well, joining us now is football writer and journalist Harry Harris. Harry, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think lots of football fans around the UK, well, I should say this, in England, will be very keen on this news that our Prime Minister is bidding perhaps for us to have the World Cup once again here back in Blighty. How realistic is this bid? Of course, we've made bids before, they haven't worked out. How is Andy Burnham going to convince FIFA that the World Cup should be back here once more?
Well, it's a great vote catcher, obviously, because the Labour government was in power in 1966, as we know. But I think it's a big ask, and I hope we're all still alive in 2042. But look, I've got the original submissions that the FA sent to FIFA 20 years ago. I went with them to deliver these books, and it was a complete and utter farce the way the FA handled it. And Andy Burnham might, with all goodwill in the world, believe we could bring the World Cup home, but not if we make the mistakes we did 20 years ago.
OK, Harry, what were those mistakes and what should Andy Burnham be doing differently to prevent...
If he's listening this morning.
He's always watching GB News, as they should be, to prevent such a farce being repeated?
Well, first of all, 20 years ago, we tried to beat FIFA at their own game with a voting structure. FIFA was, FIFA this, a FIFA that, and it was corruption was rife. So people were buying votes, and we had all these star names like David Beckham, playing David Beckham then, he wasn't knighted, Prince William. They were promised all the votes when they went around glad-handing everybody, but they reneged on them. And I recall doing a story the night before when one of the executives came and told me that they had a brown envelope shoved under their door, stashed full of cash. So, first of all, it has to be on its merits, and we're certainly not going to get any time at all with FIFA if you've got the current structure. Infantino, as you see, in charge, we're not going to get a single vote. So it has to change at the top. The structure has to change. It has to become more open, less corrupt, less political for the FA and England to have any chance of bringing it home.
Harry, it sounds like Andy's got his work cut out, but I wanted to ask you, he's also spoken about bidding for the Olympics and having a Northern Olympics. Of course, we know Andy Burnham is up from the Northwest, he's from Merseyside, he's an Everton fan. Do you think if England were to host the World Cup once again in either of these years, 2038 or 2042, do you think that those Northern football clubs up there, of course we know there are many, do you think they would play an integral part in a World Cup up there rather than a focus on the London clubs?
Oh, I've no doubt about it. I mean, we're into the potential of a restructuring of Old Trafford in Manchester. It could be a £2 billion stadium. It could be even better than the one that Spurs have in the south. But, I think the idea of taking the World Cup around the country and is an enticing one, and one that I'm sure that he would be putting into operation part of the plans that he would want the FA to endorse and take to FIFA. Okay. But, it's so many different areas, ticket pricing, travel, hotels,
right.
keeping
I'm sorry,
the prices down.
Harry Harris, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time this morning. And thank you all of you for watching Saturday Morning Live at home today. But don't go anywhere. Dawn Neeson is up after the break.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office.
High pressure is in charge this weekend, and that means after a chilly start this morning, most areas should see a dry start to the weekend with plenty of sunny spells. And here's that area of high pressure behind me, eventually building its way eastwards in from the west across the Atlantic. It does drag in a bit of a northerly feed of air, so that means things might feel that little bit cooler around any exposed coastal areas, and at times it'll drag in a little bit of cloud, this thick enough to produce the odd light shower across the far north of Scotland. But otherwise, most places will be dry, plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. Like I said, feeling that bit cooler around some coastal areas, but inland, particularly across the south, highs could still reach around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius, so still pleasant in the brighter weather. Now, to finish off the day across Scotland, still plenty of cloud around, still a few showers just edging into some northern coasts, otherwise a mostly dry end to the day. Similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some patchy cloud, also some clearer spells to finish off the day. Fairly similar elsewhere across England and Wales, the best of the clearer skies across the far south of England. Now, eventually through the course of the night, we'll see more of those clearer skies. So similar to last night, those temperatures will soon be dipping away. It's likely that some rural spots under the clearer skies will drop down to the low single figures. Perhaps a bit more in the way of cloud across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland by the time we reach the morning. And there could be some spots of mist and fog as well, but this should clear quite quickly through the course of Sunday morning. So another fresh, cool, if not quite autumnal feel to Sunday morning, but things will eventually warm up quite quickly through the course of the day. It's likely we'll see less cloud around tomorrow, and that'll allow temperatures to rise. But once again, it could be quite cloudy at times across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and parts of Northern England. Still feeling warm in the sunshine, highs reaching into the low 20s.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB.